fear, and Eckhart Tolle calls it a pain body. So that shit inside helps you drift away from the success mindset you need to have fruitful experiences with women. And of course, there's a lot of people out there who try to create fucking men who feel shame, who have swag. I even believe there's people as sick as mass shooters are. I believe there's people out there who are so sick that they try to create mass shooters. But on a smaller scale, um, emotions evolve to protect us in a way, and there's a reason why we feel them. But that reason doesn't always make sense in all contexts. Like in this modern world where a wolf necessarily isn't gonna tear you apart. Maybe you have a little sweetheart like this right here. She might bite you, but she's still so sweet. She's still, and maybe appropriate to feel certain things in a particular context, but not in another. In our present world. And I'm not a complete robot. While I may share some tendencies with robots, I do resonate emotionally. But one thing I see getting people in trouble with respect to their emotions is where, upon them having emotions, they treat such as though it's a tangible, real thing and let that run their life and dictate their next movement and their next chess move. And it causes them to do worse and worse and worse. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt, very smart. You can apply that to your emotions. No one can make you feel fear or ashamed or afraid without your consent. When I have an emotion, I take a breath and then ask, is it appropriate? Is this emotion legitimate and valid in this context? Or is it vestigial? Is it just some bullshit that I'm feeling? There are times where emotion is very real and you need to feel it. And there are times, but the point is you need to be in control of your emotions rather than let your emotions be in control of you. So when you're allowing that fear, that pain body, that all the poison drippers and Putz shamers, and people who project that you're a predator or whatever, people fucking supposed to just conduct a drive test, but instead they go tell a bunch of fucking lies about you. Um, One way to overcome that is to do flooding. Get yourself in situations where you're gonna have those emotions that you typically don't like, and then deal with them. Flood you with them. Get you practice. Put you in situations that are challenging like that, where you might think it's gonna piss somebody off, or you're gonna judge. Where you maybe behavior that's gonna maybe judge people, piss people off, or they make fun of you. It's incredible when you do some of that stuff and then you realize none of these bad things are actually going to happen, or that if some of the bad things do happen, you're able to fucking finesse them. For instance, I might walk into a set and I might give myself a challenge to have a 5 minute conversation with a girl without asking a question, not ask her a question in 5 minutes. And but interestingly enough, every time I did that challenge, the girl would be more than willing to fill that gap. Just because I gave myself that little challenge of not asking any questions in that 5 minutes. And to me, that was proof, time and time again, that much of the fear I was experiencing is not based on reality. It's just my past experiences fucking me up. It's just some internal shit. things fail, and maybe they're giving you all these excuses, and they're trying to logically throw you off, and they're giving you all these shit tests. And maybe you're trained like a veteran who's been to Vietnam. The social pressure within a set thing is largely related to feedback, where if you do something and it doesn't work out, you cease doing it, or if you do something and it does work out, you continue to apply that approach. But another thing to consider is how you overcome fear in the first place. Some guys like Todd V or RSD Max may have had the worst approach anxiety you can imagine. They go years and years. Too afraid to talk to girls. And in some ways, for instance, Todd wasn't well behaved and he had a lot of accolades, and that was very similar to me. I wasn't necessarily well behaved, but I did have I'd have arguments with teachers and disagree with them and shit like that. And I'd usually have the smartness to navigate the arguments with those teachers, but often it was kind of a win battle, lose the war type shit. But I wasn't necessarily well behaved in tennis or basketball. I got great grades, top scores. I was one of 7 national merit finalists for my school, and I don't know, 30 from the entire state or something. I think there was actually only 22 in the entire state that year. Some shit would violate my identity of the kids who was good at things. The things that I probably needed to do to get girls in the Chody Reno high atmosphere of the 90s would have violated my identity as the guy who was adept at shit and on an extremely upward trajectory in life. Because I was trying to be great in life, you know what I mean? I wasn't trying to be pretty good and become a fucking ER doctor and live in town and marry somebody I fucking went to high school with. That wasn't what I was trying to do. I identified myself as the person who's good at things, and not even just good. I wanted to be extraordinary at things. You think that's a good thing, and mostly it is, but there's some problems associated with it, because that's how I identified. Whenever I was suboptimal at something, I didn't want to do the thing that I wasn't great at, because it would violate my identity of something, of being somebody who was good at things. So when it came to talk to girls or vibe with other guys or just be in the popular clique of kids who weren't trying to become their high school's all-time leading scorer and whatever, and I wasn't so good at that, so I avoided it. And one way that I developed that, I got a little lucky because I was forced to. I was forced into situations where I had to go talk to somebody visiting colleges, and I wound up talking to some pretty girls who were just there. And I realized it's easy to talk to girls when you have an excuse, so I used that as premise. And I started talking to pretty girls. Shut up. And when I explored colleges, that's what I did. And then when I actually went to college, that became my habit, is I just come up with a false premise for why I had to talk to them, and I kept going. But what I realized from doing that is that nothing really bad happened. By accidentally getting put into a situation, nothing really bad happened, and I was thereafter progressively able to continue to push myself a bit more in forward direction each time. Desensitization progressively consists of starting with a small challenge and then going to an incrementally more difficult challenge, or there's an approach where you just throw someone in the fucking deep end, and I do different things with different students. The vast majority of times, that which we fear is unfounded, and when you're watching, You know his fears. Give yourself the experience to step up in those. Getting in the right frame of experience to teach you that you don't need to be afraid of this shit. There's two kinds of excuses that I've experienced with students that work by far the best. And the first is that this is a program and you have to do it anyways, and I'm the fucking instructor and I'm telling you to approach this girl with this opener and approach the mix set, try this XYZ. A guy can say, I can do that. It's for the program. And so that's confidence inspired by an agent, where you have an external agent. Agent AIC, Alice in Chains. Agent Inspired Confidence, Alice in Chains. That's one thing. That's one of the things these hot seats, boot camps, toolkit, cookbook, workbook, service manual will do you. We can do it and then intuit that nothing bad happens. I need that. An additional basis to do that, or emphasis, is when you're doing something in a group or with, say, a wing walk. A wingman, that group feeling, that teamwork. So, in something such as Max is Fearless, there's a Facebook group where people can post. And sometimes you get the horrible 3 fucking page posts about how do you respond to this attention horse text, or the guy who never fucking asked for a meetup. So use the social premise to push you down into your little box and use that to lift you up and get you out of that box. Okay, so within a group, you may be doing challenge number 6 or 7, and somebody who can thereafter encourage you. And much of the program is about going out with the wingman. If you don't have one, you can use some of these groups like RSD Max's group, stuff like that, or mine, to actually get you a wingman. And I remember when RSD Max's program, The Natural, came out, it was very interesting to see where he relates his first real break after working RSD. And he had been traveling for 2.5 years, always on the road, always surrounded by people, always gaming. And then The Natural came out, and Max came out on a first real vacation, settling down in Scandinavia and getting a gym pass. And he would spend a fuck ton of time just alone at home, just playing video games, introverted, nurturing, and shit like that, instead of just always being out fucking gaming all the time, doing expansive things like giving seminars and traveling. And that was so cool to see Max do that. But what he found was that he was shocked when he was on an airport surrounded by people because he was not used to it. So he's so massively out of being around people because he had been nesting so much. It really caused him to struggle massively. And I've had that too. I experienced that sometimes when preparing for the bar exam in law school. Prior to that, I had been so used to going out and fucking girls all the time because I lived in Vegas and I worked at the nightlife hard. But then I had to just fucking zip it up for like 6 straight weeks to study for the bar exam. Except I did have a threesome like 10 days before the bar exam. With the Sahara, so I wasn't totally devoid with some chicks from Australia, but you walk through the streets and you just own shit. You just open people, and you don't think, and there's nothing holding you back. There's no weird fantasy scenarios that you're playing in your head. It's not based on reality. It just makes you do shit. It makes you feel very, very free. That's something I've always been fascinated by back in the days. Is when I was not within RSD, but I would watch like Todd's videos, Todd Valentine's system, as not as the guys who were super good with girls and having all these friends and amazing girls, but I would see those guys as guys who were free and be like, those guys are free. They don't give a shit. They can do whatever they want. And at the same time, people love him and people want to fuck him. That was literally my thought process. And it was cool because that's where game can bring you, to a free state. That's what game eventually is. It's a freedom. It's a free state. It's freedom from whatever you want. Freedom from the imprisonment of your own fucking mind, G. Hey, shut up. Shut up. You wanna go outside? Alright. You wanna go outside? Your list helps you detoxify yourself and expose the fucking shit of what causes you to not be able to talk to girls. And it exposes fears, and you find out like what you're afraid of. And it might be escalation. You're afraid of it because of X, Y, Z. And you'll figure out that once you bring in a distance between your emotions, you're able to logically think about them. You're able to call them out and realize, oh, these aren't even real. I don't provide some shit, man. Until I call. Fuck them all, man. Yeah, that's a lot. What an asshole. Dude. Dude. That's fucking fucked up, bitch. I don't like that shit. We're gonna help each other out, whether you're alone in fucking Norway or whatever. We're gonna make you feel like you have cool, awesome wingmen. I personally fucking have resentment to all these motherfuckers who grew up with a ton of social proof. Fuck them. Fuck those people. You know? Your parents didn't get divorced when you were fucking 3. Your mom didn't. Fuck you. I'm feeling free and I'm not subject to my own bullshit. I don't care how many women I sleep with as long as it's a lot. And some of my most crazy shit with women starts with easy. One challenge that deals with a fear of being polarizing is to force yourself to go to a restaurant and order something and tell the waiter that it doesn't taste good and have him take it back and make the food. But if you know that's the thing that you got to do a lot and you're resisting a lot, and it was a perfect 10 out of 10 delicious meal. And I was like, I can't, but I have to be dick. So I called the waiter and told him, yo, this is shit, bring it back. I'm doing it again. And he was like, fair enough. And headed to it. It was not that big of a deal. I don't know what the fuck your problem is, Mega. I know Derek is Fuck. Honest to God, I'm kind of thinking of leaving San Fran. But it's a thought. I'm not gonna judge it. There's one up in fucking way up north, like 4 hours north, up in fucking hippie BFE fucking California, who I fucked before, and she wanted it to film us fucking in a Subaru Outback, redhead. So we did, and it was dope, and she was incredible in bed. She goes to a very intense place mentally in bed. And it's like she has to get super drunk or some shit, or into some sort of weird physical fucking mind state to be able to. Dude, I ain't going up to fucking Diamond Heights for $4. Fuck you. Alright, maybe. Nah, I ain't doing that. I don't like it. Anyway, there's no way I'm gonna fucking invest the time to fucking go drive up there on some whim, because she's so flaky on her text shit. It's like she weaves in and out of being a sexed up fucking party girl and being an AA fucking 12-step fucking flake machine. An intermittent attention whore who's not necessarily just an attention whore, but kind of fucking super down to fucking get freaky. But like high value is like, I don't need to fuck with that shit. I'm definitely don't need to drive up there for that shit. Particularly with you just giving me all this fucking wishy-washy shit, not giving me your address, texting me with sending me nudes out of the fucking blue. So sometimes every time we do a girl, she'll tense up when you try to make a man a woman, and she'll be like, no, I'm looking for real love. Partying's not my thing anymore. And so you get to be where you're like, this is fucking going nowhere. It's been a waste of time. So we're gonna fucking end the night, but she lives in the same direction as us, so we split an Uber home. So I'm like, hey to my friend, give it another try. And he's like, no, you do it. And I'm like, all right. So I get in the back seat. We sit there in the entire fucking ride home. We don't sing a single fucking word to each other. Then as we pull up to our apartment, she's like, are you coming up? And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. She's like, it's kind of messy though. You have to help me make the bed. So obviously from there, things went quite well. Now the thing that was surprising there is that there was no indication that shit was going to go well. Yeah. So the lesson is don't trust her words, trust her actions, and trust logistics. Okay? What had happened previously is that when we met up, she had sought to get us all somewhere, so that's huge. Logistics and actions were very positive there. Now her words were all fucking negative.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Dolores Street.
The other factor is being last dick standing. Don't underestimate being last dick standing. The last guy there at the end of the night, even if she barely likes you, even if there's no interaction whatsoever, so many of these hoes just need a fucking human dildo at the end of the night. So many times just being the last guy there with the girl at the end of the night will get you laid. So many times. Next story. One of the first times I ever invited two girls on the same date. I didn't do it with intention. It was just because they were both so fucking flaky. One of them had high interest in me, but had given me indications she might not be able to make it. The other girl was just a shit pickup. I had chased her down in some public setting. She had been walking the whole time. I chased her down. I barely got her talking to me. Got her number close at the end. The last 10 seconds, I thought it was like the shittiest set. And I only texted her out of due diligence, but oddly enough, she texted me back and said plans quite easily, but there was no fucking connection there. So I figured that she would flake, and given that I only had one night in town, I set a date up with both of them. I also replied a wingman there, but neither of them were into him. So both girls wound up competing for me. The one who I thought was hotter for me had less confidence, gave up, and left me with the hot one who I had less of a connection with. And good things ensued, obviously. What's the lesson there? You can't get away with it. There's some mystery, and mystery always fucking happens. Don't think they're gonna be like, fuck you, you can't do double dates, who do you think you are, Mr. Dare? But here, the thing is that when they showed up to the date, the premise wasn't, hey, let's go out and have a date. The premise was, hey, let's hang out and get to know each other. So there was congruence there, and there was an inability for her to object. And unless she wants to admit that, hey, I wanted a romantic date for you. And if she's forced to admit that, then you won there, and that's a positive. So there's no downside what you're able to do there in making these two hoes compete. And I really believe that the hot girl I did pull would have maybe not been as easy to pull again without that other girl there, because that competition got her ego riled up and got her chasing me, and it gave me that fucking opening that I might not have had. Instance, I was out and a friend of mine started talking to these two hoes at the bar, and those two hoes liked us, but they had been having two fucking losers buying them drinks the whole night. And so they were like, hey, can we grab a drink with these guys and just come back? And I was like, do what you're gonna do. And we're about to leave. And as I turn to go, the girl puts out her hand, grabs my arm to keep me from me leaving. I'm like, that strong indicator will allow me to fucking invest the time to stay. So stay with us. I walk my girl out like we're gonna leave home. And the girl I'm with is still carrying a drink, which she gets to stop at a bouncer at the entrance. And one of the guys who's been talking to her all night comes over right about the same time. Without getting into the details, because of a clusterfuck with the bouncers of the club, we were all kind of bottlenecked into a group. We were stuck together and forced to interact. And that guy puts his arm around the girl, and she doesn't necessarily like it, but she allows it because she was. And so things sort of escalate because we can't part from the guys for a while. So we end up in a situation where she's holding the guy's hand in one of hers and my hand, and the other guy's hand in the other hand. She's like, I don't know what to do. And my wingman jokingly goes, why don't you go home with them both? And you see a flash in this girl's eyes, and she goes, that's interesting. I thought to myself, and I started playing it out. As I started suggesting that I like her because she's adventurous and she's fun and crazy. I'm using all these sex words: zany, crazy, passionate, fun, interesting. The other guy's getting more and more nervous because he's lost her to me to begin with, and he doesn't really understand female psychology, and he's confused. And he's also doesn't have the balls to be that overtly sexual. And the girl goes, anyways, I have an idea. Why don't I just, the girl goes, why don't we just take you both home? And I go, yeah, that could be really fun. And she gives her the sexual look. And the other guy's like, no, we have this connection. It would be better if it was just us. And she looks at him like, really? Really, nigga? Really? And she has this look of just fucking total disgust on her face. And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. She takes his hand, holds it up, and looks at it. She goes, really? And she's going to drop his hand if she says, really? And she goes, poof, hand release, off with me, balls deep, goes home with me. Now that's a fucking crazy one, but it totally makes sense if you understand female psychology. What's going on there? Why did she go home with me? You might not know this, but you didn't know this, but it is most girls' fantasy to tell us threesome, male, male, female. It's a very intriguing thing for them, and most of them wind up wanting 3 males because there's 3 holes, and some of them want 5 because they have free hands. I was the guy who's in secret society who knows about sex and understands fucking sex and female psychology. And then you got Mr. Romantic, White Knight. Mr. Romantic, White Knight, inherently to women is always going to appear less exciting, less fun, less sexy. So she sees me as high value guy that gets it and low value guy that doesn't get it. And it presents an easy choice for her because he didn't know female psychology. And he wasn't willing to be a risk taker. He lost, and I wound up balls deep in a lot of other things in her that night. And you might spend years in game before you have stories like that. But that said, take my reference experiences, take what I've learned, and apply that shit across the board. Now, it's very possible that you're not going to wind up in a situation where you're holding girls with a guy and you have to play tug of war AMOG with them. It's quite possible you won't invite 2 girls on one day. However, do understand the fundamental premises here in the lessons of psychology that I'm teaching you that made all of these work. And I promise you, you will run into situations where similar things will be played for you and you'll wind up getting balls deep and fucking face fucking where you otherwise would not. And you'll probably wind up fucking her in the ass sometimes and doing ass to mouth, but that's advanced game. With a Costa Rican blue-eyed goddess on vacation in her fancy hotel that you met on the street at 3 a.m. after you dropped another girl off at her place in Nob Hill. After you had fucked her and had her watch you fuck and give 3 orgasms to someone hotter than her. That shit'll happen. Advanced game. Alright, do your 100 push-ups, 3 sets of leg lifts. Daddy's gonna get his vape on. Get off these fucking combustions. She'd never be able to keep me, which is interesting flip on the validation and entitlement spectrum vis-a-vis entitlement. Vis-a-vis, she didn't feel entitled for me on a certain level. On a social level, she was a wonder girl, but let's not go there. The point is that entitlement is very much in your head. Entitlement. If you go to a club and you go in with the wrong thing, you're not going to be entitled unless you are a hot girl and you spend money on a bottle, or you spend money on a bottle, so you're not going to be entitled. So if you're playing that game, it's a game you're destined to lose. Unfortunately, that's not the only game you can play. The big thing, and something I've had to unwire and rewire in a lot of students, the big thing is to play the game by your values, so that you're playing a different game than the one that you're destined to lose. We deal with long-term entitlement and the short-term entitlement and the gimmicks and trips. I don't think it should be all one or all other. I don't think it's smart to do all one or all the other. If you only do long-term entitlement, you're going to take way too long to get success, and you're going to get very discouraged, and that might cause you to not make it there. And you will hold yourself back, typically, in the long run, because in order to have entitlement on a long-term time, you need to convince yourself of things. You need success, and you need feedback from the world to support whatever image you're creating of yourself or trying to become. So you need short-term victories to make it to long-term entitlement, because short-term results give you encouragement, so you'll have that upward spiral associated with a positive loop. And if you don't get any of that, you'll get to a certain threshold and have an inability to get hired, or you become like a strong frame guy who has such a belief in himself that he's amazing and that he's the man, so unstoppable and untouchable, and they're so good at that and so effective with that. But if that's ever threatened, even momentarily, their entire self-image may fall apart, and they could be in tears and despondent and have their whole life shattered due to not having a solid foundation to what they're doing. So think of 10 reasons why she should want to be with you. And I think it's typically not to lead with money, because that can be validating, but it also has a lot of problems associated with it. So think of 10 reasons why you are the best option a girl has. Understand this. Has this in the back of your head. Don't lead with it. Don't think because you have this or just these things and throw it in their face, because now you're qualifying yourself and you're trying too hard, and you're letting this little area of expertise that you have undermine that which is far more valuable, which is the communication. Let her know in the back of her head that you're worth more than the $20 her vagina is actually worth in the real world, which will allow you to frame the conversation and steer it in the correct areas. If I was an Olympic athlete, I would want to have conversations that were around areas of fitness, achievement, health, and competition. And I wouldn't be trying to brag, but if I could just be naturally telling the truth and even frame it in a modest way and be impressive in those areas. If I was a hedge fund billionaire, it would make sense for me to talk about opportunism, markets, capitalism, using things, your strengths to excel, like your intellect. And I could be modest and yet still impressive in those areas. So, and feel the technical way of doing this is so that your brain has actual proof and reason why you're invalidated and why you're entitled, as opposed to just saying that I am the man, goddammit, I am the man, goddammit, and just trying to hammer that in your brain. And your brain might be like bullshit you're trying to brainwash me. I'm not an idiot. You need to give me a justification of some sort. So it's important to discern your own reasons why you're entitled and why you're a good catch for these girls. And if you have trouble finding these reasons, work on becoming the sort of person who does offer value, and move towards becoming the type of person that you want to become. Another reason why people don't take action is that they feel like they're interfering or being a burden on people. And a lot of guys don't want to approach girls in the daytime when they're not out socializing, out of fear that they would be imposing upon them and interfering with their conversations. So what I tell these guys is, if there was a girl's name on a check for $10,000 in your pocket, would you feel like you were interfering with her? And they always say no. And I say, well, in fact, if you offered her that check and if you had that check and she rejected you before you offered it, who would be the loser, you or her? And they realize who would. And then they realize that in terms of good sex, love and affection experiences, and other things of that sort, because is that worth more than the $10,000? I would say that for anybody, all those things is worth more than those $10,000. So, if you have all those things, should you really feel that you are fucking imposing on her if you offer that stuff? In other words, you as a whole is worth more than the 10 grand. So, if it worked for you under the 10 grand premise, $10 check, then see the value you're bringing to her as this check in your pocket, and she's a fucking idiot if she turns it down before you even offer it. A lot of people have the idea that whatever they're saying is not good enough, but they don't want to make a scene, or they don't want negative repercussions. The genesis of that sort of entitlement comes from evolution, from when we lived in small tribes and met some of the same people repeatedly in our life. We had to be very careful about not making mistakes. And that sort of thing really holds us back, because people don't make mistakes, rarely actually achieving, because it's difficult the first time around. So it's important to break through that idea of being so risk adverse and not being willing to mess up at all. You have to realize that you are not your actions. You are what you are in this moment, not your past history. You are your set of beliefs, your skills, your values. You are not your past, although you can grow towards your future. But really internalize that which you are is based upon what is within you. A lot of people can see me outside with my crew and camera and all that and be like, he looks like a celebrity, or they can be like, this is some obnoxious person with all this shit. Either way, I'm still the same person, because regardless of how somebody thinks of me, what I'm doing fundamentally hasn't changed. So it's all about getting validation internally. So, to talk for a bit, in terms of the way you want things, maybe the way you do everything. So you can take an entitlement from the fact that you did go to the gym today, or you did work on your gym today, or you did broadcast live for 12 hours a day on YouTube. So you can borrow entitlement from your future with the understanding that you can borrow as long as you're moving towards being that kernel of the person. The giant tree inside an acorn, in a way, has the same sort of potential. You can drive entitlement from that as well, and you can sell bitches on your fucking potential and your momentum. I would like to be more rich and better in bed than I am, even though I'm pretty fucking good already. But I'd still like to be better, and I'd like to have a better body. I'd like to be younger. I'd like to have better hair. I'd like to fucking wear my contacts more. Let's talk more about shorter term entitlement. An easy and gimmicky way to get that is to rely on a technique.
phenomenon in boot camp you see a lot is that as an instructor, when I tell you to do something, you'll trust me and you go out and try something and make it work, even if it's not the world's best technique. Even if you do these techniques wrong or incorrectly, it'll work because you have such belief in what you're doing incorrectly because they made a commitment and they fucking stuck to it and they made a strong move because they moved so strongly. Now the problem with that, no one did a great video about this, is that today's epiphany is tomorrow's crutch. If you start relying on a technique and you're having fun with it and you're not relying on it, it takes you out of the moment and it becomes unentitled because you are getting your entitlement from something that is not within yourself. And you are violating Alex's primary rule, which says you are enough. You might get a prop and it's more fun that you're bringing, and that can bring you entitlement. But then today's epiphany is tomorrow's fucking crutch. If you are not the most rich person, don't make your entitlement money. I know a lot of guys who are very scrubby, and you would even consider them very losers at life, but they're very entitled with women because they think it's about the experience. Another approach is disavow entitlement completely. Another guy I know who, when asked how he was entitled to get really attractive girls, he said, I don't know, I don't even think about it like that. I have a penis, they have a vagina, men and women, we're supposed to be together, what's the big deal? So he just disavowed the whole entitlement thing completely by just forgetting about all of society's pedestal mentality. Do 100 push-ups. Most times, good job on those push-ups. Make it awkward for her to say no to you. If you make it awkward for her to say yes to you, she won't. So just assume she's gonna follow you inside to your place. Once you're inside, again, take your time. You've already had her come back to your place and you try to fuck her. You just grabbed your wallet for 5 minutes. She's gonna be too nervous that first time to try to fuck her. You'll get last minute resistance. So once you get there, just take your time. If you try to do something just right away, it will cost you an hour. Oh, bullshit later. Let that cat walk around and sniff out the fucking place and figure out what she wants to scratch and who she wants to curl up with. You know? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Push it forward to where there's no resistance, and then pull back if there is any resistance. Pushing it too hard, too fast is going to cost you time. Be patient. Up to a certain point, you can always have an interaction. You can always try again later. You get to bucket. I don't know why you get to bucket. You get to bucket. You're gonna have to lick my ass or something. Then he told me I was gonna have to lick his asshole. They always try to get to bucking later. These girls do. I swear to God. They need to quit. These hoes need to quit bucking. I swear, if they would just not buck, I wouldn't have to put them back in pocket. Get out of pocket. I gotta check you. Alright, guys. Deuces. Deuces, bro. 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 Oh, he's cool as fuck. Deuces. Get out of my face, dog! You're losing this interaction. Nah, call the police. Call the police, dog. I'll call the fuck. You guys act like a bunch of fucking thugs in the San Francisco fucking fetish scene. With the PC fucking blue pill cock fucking warriors, Rafanos, and fucking Smack Club, and fucking SF Bank Collective, and fucking SF PNG, and all that shit. They act like a bunch of fucking thugs. But whatever, don't judge. What else? What else can we do right now that's higher vibration and getting fucking sidetracked by some piranhas nipping at our fucking heels? Deuces. Deuces, bro. Deuces. I love saying deuces. Deuces! Aw, pop shit apologize type, dude. Deuces. Deuces. Niggas love screaming peace after they start some shit. I mean, look, I ain't fucking chasing this shit to the fucking gates of death. Even though I honestly don't think Kate Flo would give a fuck if I died. I don't think she would give a flying fuck if I died. Nope. She wouldn't care at all. I guarantee you that. That shit on one phone. Probably not. I'm at school on fucking Monday. I work in all my purpose and shit. purpose of basketball was to stay in shape and shit. And stay part of something the community cared about what the fuck it is. So you don't want to cross the lines every time. So we're getting close to the point of
How much for the coffee? 7. Yes? How much? Fine. Didn't find the winner. I'll do the 20. 30. Yeah. We have that. What is that? How much did you get? Oh, we had no one. Okay, mình nó không. Cảm ơn giờ mình thế này giờ thì friend. Phải đâu nào? Yeah, it kind of comes across as a minority, but it also kind of comes across as being really fucking.
What's up? What's up? Move. Hey boss, you got any discontinued or slightly damaged vapes that you got for sale?
Oh, we do not.
What do you got what do you got?
Here. Like flat.
celebrate my green.
Oh my God.